What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for stopping by the channel. In today's video, we're going to recap some of the biggest stories and some of the smaller stories you may not have heard over the past week. The market's been pretty crazy. We're going to also be going over my portfolio, which I was down a whopping $1,000 this week, dropping at $81,000. You can see a big boy winner over here, but down a ton everywhere else. That was today alone. So we'll go over my portfolio, what I've added as well. So it's been quite a wild ride. I'm excited to see what happens. If it's your first time here, I'd love if you would consider subscribing and smash that like button. Here we go. So the first story, which is the majority of what my thumbnail is covering. Hope you guys like that, by the way. Had a little bit of fun making that one. But we're going to be looking at this article that's come out, and I don't know if you guys are how active you are on Twitter. If you're not, there's a lot of interesting things that happen over there, also over on YouTube. But it's not Tesla themselves doing the Bitcoin scam, but there is several people claiming to be Elon Musk, claiming to be Tesla, promoting Bitcoin scams using his name. And it says over the last 2 months that they have profited over $2 million. Quite a successful scam. I don't really know what there is to do about this. The most important thing I would say is, man, if you see anybody giving away free stuff, it's probably not Elon Musk. You can see here, this data was compiled by Adaptive. What happened? We had the cybersecurity firm CEO, Justin Lister. He told ZDNet on Friday that they tracked down 67 so-called Bitcoin vanity addresses, which misused the billionaire entrepreneur's name to make away with about 214 Bitcoin worth a little over $2 million at press time. So basically, these people were using different websites that were in some way connected to Elon Musk and acting as though they are actually them. To me, I find it really interesting that this is working with, I would assume would be a lot of adults, but maybe they're getting a lot of younger people, as Elon Musk does have a younger audience. I think, especially online, his social media presence, he's really huge, and he's attracted a lot of younger fans because he does post a lot of pretty entertaining content on Twitter, does a lot of memes. So I could see maybe that's where a lot of these people are falling for these scams, because I know whenever I've seen anything like this, I've been able to identify it pretty easily. You'll see lots of giveaway scams. This is where I've seen them the most, over on Twitter. They do giveaway scams in replies to tweets from Tesla directly, trying to pretend to be Elon Musk. Let me know if you've seen any of these. If you've fallen for one, I'd love to hear your story, or if you've kind of gone down the rabbit hole of seeing where it took you. Let me know. I would be really interested to see what happened. The next story I want to cover is one of the biggest stories. There's been a view and look at hate speech and how people are treated, and it's caused a lot of companies to boycott Facebook, saying that they are not doing a good enough job policing their website and basically censoring people, what they're saying, where people are showing their ads, and a lot of advertisers upset that their ads are being shown on content that they deem as hateful. Check out this clip.
Mel, I think there are two waves coming at the company. The first is what we're dealing with, some of the hate speech on the platform, and I am surprised at actually how quickly Facebook has responded to these boycotts. I actually think that they are working. The announcement today that Zuckerberg made is he's had a lot of pressure to do something over the last 3 weeks. And now, since the advertisers have moved, the bigger advertisers have come in, he's actually making changes.
Pause it real quick right there. Those are some of the companies that have agreed to boycott Facebook for a little while. Not exactly sure how long. It's one of these where a lot of these businesses are already well-known brands that I don't know how successful their actual advertising on Facebook does. I'm assuming that the companies that have the most success on Facebook are probably a little bit smaller, more direct to consumer. Traditionally all online sales, where obviously these companies have had to move more online, but everybody knows who these guys are. They're going to get orders. I mean, Verizon advertising on Facebook, I don't know if that's generally going to make people buy a plan. I think it's more about brand awareness, so they can just kind of move to somewhere else if they want to get that. Where people who use Facebook to actually track conversions, I don't see a whole lot of them that are really boycotting, at least on this list.
And ultimately, the second wave, the one that is more potent, is going to be around what's going to happen with the regulation of Facebook and Twitter as publishers. And if I think about this, this is not a question about the left or the right. I think both parties are going to recognize that these platforms are very different than they were 10 years ago.
So I made a video a couple of weeks back talking about Article 230 and the executive order that was made. It's going to be interesting to see kind of where this all leads. Typically, this type of an issue, I tend to side on freedom of speech, But trying to look at a more full circle here, as an advertiser, I don't think that it's wrong for you to want to have more control over where your ads are shown. On Google, YouTube, you're able to have a fair amount of control as an advertiser paying for ads on those platforms, being able to say where and where not you would like your ads to go. You can get really specific with it. I'm not so sure that that is quite as customizable on Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat. So I do think that that could actually be a good thing moving forward, which could cause more advertising. So personally, looking at these stocks, if you're going to look at this from a financial perspective, this downturn I think is going to be short-lived. I'm going to be taking a hard look at Facebook in particular. I think that they are a good company making some good moves. I think that they're going to recover from this really quickly. Even if they don't recover quickly, they're going to continue to grow as more and more business is done online. Their marketing and ad platform is going to continue to grow over time. That's my opinion. Next, I want to look at the portfolio for the week. As you can see, down 1.3%. If you haven't seen my previous two videos, my original reveal came out on a couple weeks ago, going over my whole portfolio. Last week, I did some news and an update on my portfolio. And this week, you can see I am down a little bit, quite a bit actually, $1,000, not a small amount of money. The majority of my stocks that I hold, this is my total return for the day. I'm red on pretty much everything except for Smith & Wesson, which was a new buy. I also did pick up 2 shares of Beyond Meat, which I'm down a lot. Did that. It was somebody in my comment last video recommended I take a peek at it. I kind of bought it without thinking. It probably would have been a good idea to keep my eye on it and buy it after they took a dip after. They had some bad news, unfortunately, kind of come out about big companies choosing not to use them for their choice of plant-based meals. My biggest company, and one that I really like a lot, is SHLL. It's kind of been popular a little bit right now on YouTube. A lot of people looking at it. SHLL is the ticker symbol. Tortoise Acquisition. I bought them first thing Monday morning. I heard about these guys over the weekend. Currently, I bought actually 150 shares. I did sell 25 shares today at $25.15 a pop. You can see that was my original purchase. I did that because I was a little bit low on my cash. If you didn't see that in my previous video, I've been sitting around $7,000 in cash. I currently only have now $3,600 after that sale. I want to have a little bit more because I do expect to see some more red moving forward, but I am up a lot today on this stock. Feeling very positive about it. Total return already $1,000, guys. My original investment was $24.80, I think it was. Let's see. Yeah, $24.52.50. This company is a really interesting company. You can see their finance. You're like, well, what's so exciting about them? Well, they're supposed to be merging or purchasing Hyliion, I think it is. Hyliion, which is a very interesting company. I actually did buy some Nikola previously, made a little bit of money on that stock. So Nikola got a ton of hype behind it. All they have are pre-orders. Well, this company has on the road right now a product that's formed very well. I'm very interested in it, and I just figured, hey, you know what? These guys already have something. You can see Hyliion Tortoise Acquisition Corp announced merger, combined company to remain listed on New York Stock Exchange. So they've had quite a run up. I don't know if it's going to continue. I suspect that it will. I do plan on holding that for a little bit longer, but I'm pretty excited for the future of this stock. Not sure how long I'll be holding it. My biggest holding, Amazon, took quite a dive today, but not too bad for the week. It could be worse. I'm pretty excited overall. It's kind of interesting to have such a red week, but to be feeling fairly positive about my portfolio overall. I'm really excited about this one. We'll see. It could easily go the other direction. Stocks continue to dive. I feel comfortable about most of the companies that I hold. I plan on buying more as there is a dip if I'm able to. I do hold a couple of options. I've lost quite a lot on this call option. I thought it was going to recover a little bit today. It did not. I am holding some long-term puts on the S&P 500 as well. Will sell this if I make quite a lot of money because with all the scary media news coming out, you never know, it could continue to dip, but I am long-term still bullish overall. But I don't plan on selling most of my stocks for a very long time. Moving on, I'm going to cover the next few stories pretty quickly here. This story, the single greatest predictor of future stock market returns, has a message for us from 2030. It uses a percentage of stock U.S. households own, determines the market's 10-year return. It's kind of complicated. I will link this if you're interested in this article. But at the end of the day, they are projecting some pretty terrible returns according to this article. And they summarize and suggests that more than likely the bulk of the returns over the next 10 years are going to come from dividends. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. A lot of times, at least in the United States so far, when people have predicted long-term bear markets, this simply has not come true. There's only been short-term. Now, that could obviously change, but I'm bullish long-term. But most of my investments, I am putting the bulk of what I have in companies that I do believe in, that I believe will be around for a while. I do have a couple of chances. My biggest risks, I do have a couple of airline stocks. Carnival, I have a little bit, and then obviously SHLL, but they have already got a good product out on the space, and I think it's a growing, emerging market in the world today that's going to continue to grow. Some companies, I do think there will be growth, but a lot of these major, huge market cap companies, especially ones that don't have as much potential, it's going to be hard for them to continue to grow if what they say here is true. So it looks like you dividend investors might be the only ones coming out positive here. Another really interesting thing that came out, U.S. banks are swimming in money as deposits increase by $2 trillion amid the coronavirus. Now, where did this money come from? Pretty interesting to note here. A record $2 trillion in cash hit the deposit accounts of U.S. banks since the coronavirus first struck the U.S. in January, according to FDIC data. The wall of money flowing into banks has no precedent in history. In April alone, deposits grew by $865 billion, more than the previous record for an entire year. The gains were all driven in one way or another by the response to the pandemic. The government unleashed hundreds of billions of dollars to bolster small businesses and individuals via stimulus checks and unemployment benefits. So look at, this article makes it kind of seem like there's all this new money floating around, like somehow it's like a good thing, but really it's just the government printing cash is what it really comes down to. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing short term. Hey, it's going to keep maybe people from going broke, but long term, it's probably not good for a country. We'll see how this turns out. Kind of an interesting spin on this. Kind of seems like they're trying to paint this as like a really positive vibe. Like this is something good. A lot of people who are just headline readers are going to be like, oh, wow, there's all this money, and maybe that's a good thing, where it's not necessarily new, actual real money. I guess it's real money, but it's printed. And the last story, guys, a really interesting one in my view. If you haven't seen this, again, all these links will be in the description below. This talks about the founder of Chewy, a really interesting company themselves. You can check them out. He's 34 years old and owns $550 million worth of Apple. I don't even know why is he hoping the stock gets hammered. That's kind of they're trying to do a little clickbait there. Really, he's hoping it gets hammered so it drops in price so he can buy more. But it's really interesting. His completely does not do what anybody tells you you're supposed to do. He's got all of his money right now invested in Apple and Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, not doing so hot right now. Apple, obviously doing amazing. He says he's misunderstood. He doesn't recommend people doing this, but it is a pretty interesting thing for a guy who's so young, so successful, to just go, hey, here's all my money. I'm putting it into 2 stocks. I know everybody tells a guy to diversify and do all of this, get a nice portfolio that ranges international stock and this and that and bonds and yada, yada, yada. This guy's putting it all into 2. If I've learned anything over this period of time, which obviously I'm always trying to learn, there are different ways for people to invest. And just because all the people are telling you, hey, this is the way you need to do it. You need to put your money in with a money manager. You need to invest in X, Y, and Z and have this type of diversified portfolio. That might mitigate some of your risks. But I guarantee you, if this guy keeps his money in Apple and it's performed the way it has over the last 20 years, he's going to do a heck of a lot better than the majority of hedge fund managers and majority of money market managers that are out there. Apple has absolutely killed it. And yeah, it's all in one company and it could move a lot, but he's 34 years old. He's got plenty of cash. He can retire, probably go do a million other things. Just kind of an interesting way of looking at things. Obviously, I'm not doing the same thing, but the majority of my portfolio and my stocks, I own Amazon. I mean, not nearly as much, but hey, I got 34% in Amazon. I feel really good about Amazon. Apple might be considered a little bit safer. I don't really know, though. They're both 2 of the biggest companies in the world. I do own, obviously, a lot more stocks than he does, but just something to keep in mind as you're looking at growing and learning about the stock market. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you like the video. And if you haven't already opened up a Robinhood account or a Webull account, get some free stocks. Use my links below. We'd be really appreciated if you do. Let me know what stocks you get in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, peace.